The Path of Wisdom, a story of Buddha's principles. Chapter 1. The Seeker's Journey begins. In the kingdom of Magadha, there lived a young man named Anand. He was the son of a wealthy merchant, born into luxury and comfort. Yet despite his riches, Anand felt an emptiness within. His heart was burdened with questions. What is the meaning of life? Why do people suffer? How can one find true peace? One day, he heard of a great teacher, the Buddha, who taught about wisdom, compassion, and enlightenment. Intrigued, Anand left his home, forsaking his wealth, and set out on a journey to meet the enlightened one. After many days of travel, he finally reached a quiet grove where the Buddha was seated under a Bodhi tree, surrounded by monks and lay followers. Anand approached respectfully and bowed. "Great teacher," he said, "I seek wisdom. Please guide me on the path to truth." The Buddha smiled gently. "Anand, to find truth, one must first understand the nature of suffering and the way to liberation. Sit, and I shall teach you." Chapter 2. The Four Noble Truths. The Buddha began, "Life is filled with suffering, dukkha. Birth, aging, illness, and death are all forms of suffering. Even when we have pleasure, we suffer, for pleasure is fleeting." Anand nodded, recognizing the truth in these words. "But why do we suffer?" Anand asked. "Suffering arises from attachment and craving," the Buddha continued. "We desire things, wealth, relationships, recognition, but nothing lasts forever. When we cling to impermanent things, we invite suffering." Anand reflected on his own life. He had always feared losing his riches, his family, and his status. This fear had indeed caused him great suffering. "But is there a way out?" he asked. "Yes," the Buddha replied. "Suffering can end when we let go of attachment. This is nirvana, the cessation of desire, a state of inner peace." "And how can one reach this state?" Anand inquired eagerly. "The way to liberation is through the Eightfold Path," the Buddha said. "It is the path of wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline." Chapter 3. The Eightfold Path. The Buddha described the 8 principles that led to liberation. 1. Right view, understanding the nature of suffering and impermanence. 2. Right intention, cultivating thoughts of kindness, compassion, and renunciation. 3. Right speech, speaking truthfully, kindly, and avoiding harmful words. 4. Right action, living ethically by avoiding harm, stealing, and wrongdoing. 5. Right livelihood, earning a living in a way that does not cause harm to others. 6. Right effort, striving to cultivate positive qualities and overcome negativity. 7. Right mindfulness, being fully present and aware of one's thoughts and actions. 8. Right concentration, developing deep meditation and inner stillness. These principles, when followed, lead to freedom from suffering and the realization of true peace, the Buddha explained. Anand listened with great attention. "Master, I wish to walk this path, but my mind is restless. How can I find peace within?" The Buddha replied, "The mind is like a wild monkey, constantly jumping from one thought to another, but with meditation, you can tame it." Chapter 4. The Power of Meditation. Under the guidance of the Buddha, Anand began practicing meditation. At first, his mind wandered endlessly. Memories of home, worries about the future, and desires clouded his concentration. But he persisted. Day by day, he learned to observe his breath, detach from his thoughts, and rest in stillness. He discovered that when he let go of craving and judgment, he felt a deep sense of calm. One evening, Anand approached the Buddha and said, "Master, I have experienced moments of peace in meditation, but how do I bring this peace into my daily life?" The Buddha smiled. "Meditation is not just about sitting. It is about cultivating awareness in every action. When you eat, be present with each bite. When you walk, feel each step. When you speak, be mindful of your words. This is the way to true mindfulness. Chapter 5. Compassion and Loving Kindness. As Anand deepened his practice, he realized that peace was not just for himself, it must be shared with others. He asked the Buddha, "How can I help others find happiness?" The Buddha replied, "Happiness arises from compassion. When you see others as yourself, you will naturally wish for their well-being." The Buddha then taught the practice of metta, or loving-kindness meditation. "Close your eyes," he instructed Anand. "First, wish for your own happiness. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. Then, extend this wish to others, your family, friends, even strangers. Finally, extend it to all beings in the world." Anand practiced metta daily. He found that as his heart opened with love, his own suffering lessened. Chapter 6. Impermanence and Letting Go. One day, Anand received news that his father had passed away. Grief consumed him, and he rushed to the Buddha, tears streaming down his face. "Master, I am lost in sorrow. My father is gone. How do I bear this pain?" The Buddha placed a gentle hand on Anand's shoulder. "Everything in this world is impermanent, Anand. Just as the river flows and the seasons change, all beings must one day pass. Clinging to what is fleeting only deepens suffering." Anand wept. "But how can I stop missing him?" "Do not suppress your grief," the Buddha said. "Acknowledge it, but do not be trapped by it. Honor your father by living wisely, by carrying forth kindness in his name." In time, Anand learned to let go, not by forgetting his father, but by accepting change as part of life. Chapter 7. True Wealth. Years passed, and Anand became a devoted disciple of the Buddha. One day, an old friend visited him, surprised to see Anand living as a monk. "Anand, you were once wealthy. Why did you leave everything behind?" Anand smiled and replied, "I was once rich in gold, but poor in wisdom. Now I have found a wealth that cannot be lost, a heart free from fear and a mind at peace." His friend, curious, stayed to listen to the Buddha's teachings. In time, he too began to understand that true happiness is not found in possessions, but in a heart that is wise, compassionate, and free. Conclusion. The path continues. As the years passed, Anand dedicated his life to sharing the Buddha's wisdom. He helped the sick, guided the lost, and spread the message of peace. One day, as he sat in meditation, he realized the teachings of the Buddha were not just words, they were a way of life. The path was endless, and every step on it brought him closer to true freedom. And so, with a heart full of gratitude,